what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show. I don't want you to get away. Oh, hey kids. Welcome to the Big Daddy G Show. And this is part 2 of our series of 3 shows. And I bet you're wondering why the number 3. Anyway, today's show is, again, about UFOs. And we're talking about a guy named Billy Meier who lives in Switzerland, who in 1975-ish was visited by aliens from another planet, believe it or not. So anyway, they told him that they had come to the planet to study us and find out, how we're doing. They're not here to overtake the planet or anything like that. Now, are they lying? I don't know. Are they trying to figure out how they're going to take us over? I don't know. So we just want to present the documentary that was shot back in the 70s, and we didn't film this documentary, but we did get permission to show it, and we do give credit at the end of the show to the people that put it together. So anyway, I wanted to tell you about the first encounter that I had with a UFO, and I have an image of that particular encounter. And Tyrone, if we can go to the other camera for a second. Here is the picture of the UFO that I encountered, the first one I've ever encountered. And this one, I was running through the fields behind a friend's house. His name was David. And we were running through the fields, just playing around. And the grass was probably about, I'm going to say probably about 3.5 feet tall. And of course, I was kind of short because I was about 14 at the time. And this image, similar to this image, except at the top, see the round top, the little round top on the top of this image, it was bright red, like the rose that I keep on my table for my mother. It was bright red. And as I was running, I saw it on the floor, on the ground, and I stopped. And I was probably maybe, I'm going to say, 2 feet away from it. And at first I thought that it was like the top of a trash can, and because it was really, really shiny. And so I stopped and I looked at it, and like within 2 seconds it just disappeared into the sky, and just shot out into the sky. And again, the grass was not crushed; it was laid over. The grass was laid over and it was burnt, but not like black burnt, just like browned. And I was like, what was that? And it just shot up into the sky so fast. And so that was my first encounter with a UFO. My second encounter with a UFO, I'll tell you after the documentary you're about to see. And I'm also going to talk about the alien that I encountered in my home. So I want to tell you guys about that, and I want to show you the picture again. I have the picture right here that I drew, because I looked on Google, I looked all over the internet trying to find an image of what was in my room, and it's not on Google. It's not anywhere that I could find it. So, I searched and I couldn't find an image like it. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that maybe I'm the first person that they contacted. I don't know. So anyway, Tyrone, can we go ahead and run that clip of the interview? Please pay attention to this interview. It's very, very important, because every single episode tells you, a little bit more about Billy and proves that what he's saying is true. So please watch the episode, or the little documentary. Tyrone, please roll the clip.
When Meier is about to have a contact, he receives a cooling sensation on his forehead. The communication is telepathic. He prepares carefully. He is usually taken aboard the beam ships, but is unable to describe their interiors very well. There are no words, he says. Apparently, they are totally unfamiliar. The gun is a precaution, due to the threats on his life. The hat is a favorite. one he picked up on his travels in the Middle East. The tattoo he received during a brief stint as a sailor. He dresses well because he can be gone for hours, and the weather in these mountains changes constantly. The walkie-talkie is a necessity because he is often left far from where he parked the bike and must call to be picked up. Meier feels the Pleiadians can communicate with him because his vibrations, the natural frequencies of his mind, are compatible with theirs.
Each human on Earth and each human over the whole universe has different vibrations. The vibrations of human is made out of his thinking, and the vibration themselves, they are something like magnetic electrical waves. And they are turning from human to human, from planet to planet, and over the whole space of the universe.
When entering your terrestrial state, we must make an adjustment in our vibrational patterns. It is similar to you adjusting the fine-tuning on your communications devices. In our case, it allows for the clear perception necessary for an exchange to take place.
The stunning clarity of the pictures and the accessibility of the site gives the investigators the chance to put the photos through another test.
Billy, we're using this to measure distance. It's the latest in infrared measuring devices. Yes. It's actually a small computer. It's made by Wild Heerbrugg here in Switzerland. And what we're trying to do here, Lee is up there with the reflector. Yep. And what this will do is send infrared light out and reflect out of that reflector back here. And this will rapidly tell us the distance and will also tell us how much higher or lower he is.
That's about where you're standing, right there.
That's right, the place, yes.
Okay, we'll go to on systems. Yes, we've got 1,262 feet, 0.85.
The precise measurements and photos are fed into the computer. The edges of known objects, such as the trees and the hills, are translated into pixels. Since these measurements are known, the number of pixels in the edge of the unknown object, the craft, gives its distance. The beam ship is determined to be just where Meier said it was. Simple triangulation then gives its size, 7 meters, or about 21 feet in diameter.
How do they contact you, Billy? How do you know to go out and meet them?
Yeah, that's a simple way. If I hear the order in my head to go to a contact, then I leave the house or just the place where I stay at the moment, and then they will guide me to the place where they pick up me.
Well, let me ask a question. Why you?
You see, and I can work together with them because I understand to close up my earth body vibrations.
See, Billy's explained to me before that they perceive in Earth humanity all the vibrations of lust, envy, greed, avarice, all of the things that make us dense, and it gives us a heavy vibration that they react to as a bad smell. In fact, he's even mentioned that they call it the auric stench of Earth humanity, and it's discomforting to them. It gives them problems. It makes them sick to stay in their presence
When he
long.
closes up his vibrations, are we talking about an altered state of some sort, like alpha, beta, or theta, as far as the consciousness is
meditation?
in a way, it's like meditation. He rids himself of all of the unpleasant aspects of Earth life.
But Billy,
The vibration of the earth human.
you say they're advanced technologically. How far ahead of us advanced are they?
They are about 3,500 years in their experiences about technology far out from our level. And
They study us because we represent an earlier stage of their own evolution.
yeah. You know, they had war, they had trouble together, they was fighting together, and they needed a very, very long time to get peace under themselves.
They made a very interesting observation at one point. They said that if we could now concentrate Earth's energies and resources, we could achieve all that they can do now in about 300 years of our time.
Yeah.
Is there?
You see, they don't come here to harm us. They don't come to start trouble here or war or to overtake the earth in their ruling. They just see us here as their little brothers or something like that. And they want to bring the real teaching of the natural life and of the spiritual belonging, spiritual teaching, spiritual life, and all this.
But they must want something from us.
They just want nothing.
Nothing.
You see, for the human on earth, it's impossible to believe this, but that's really the truth. They just want nothing from the humans on earth.
The team had shown the Meier material to a variety of experts in an attempt to learn if any of it could be duplicated. They estimated it would require expertise in at least a dozen different fields, including metallurgy, astronomy, ancient history, and psychology. The panel concluded it would take over 10,000 man-hours and cost in excess of $1 million to duplicate the evidence Meier has.
Billy, this is a psychological stress evaluation test, better known as PSE. What we're going to do is ask you some questions. You'll answer yes or no. We will tape these questions. The tape will go back to the United States. At that time, we'll test it through a computer to measure your micro tremors in your voice. It's like a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Would you agree to doing this?
Go on, start it.
Is your name Edward Meier?
Yes.
Could you speak a little louder, please?
Yes.
Are you wearing a shirt?
Yes.
Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
Have you taken photographs of Palladian spacecraft?
Yes.
Do you ride your moped?
Yes.
Do you receive your mail at Schmidt-Rudy?
Yes.
Did you fake the photographs taken at Ober-Sadeleg with a model suspended? Wait till the answer, or wait till the question is finished. Suspended by a string.
No.
Let's do that one more time, okay? Wait till I finish. Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
The tape is taken back to be analyzed by Bob Phelan, a former criminal investigator with the Sheriff's Department of Colorado and a specialist in lie detection.
Was also a yes answer. Number 3, do you live in Switzerland? Yes, he lives in Switzerland. There's enough stress here to indicate that probably isn't where he prefers to live, or he's lived someplace else. Question 4 was the first relevant question you asked him, is have you taken the photographs of spacecraft? His answer was yes. He's being extremely forceful, though not deceptive. And my opinion on that particular question is that he's being as truthful as possible. Number 7 was the second relevant question you asked him, and he answered right on top of the question. And the person asking the question had asked him to answer the question again, and then he asked the question again. The stress levels between the two diminished the second time that the question was asked, which is not indicative of deception, because stress builds in a deceptive pattern. It doesn't diminish. If it was a deceptive answer, the stress would then increase, not decrease. Now, something was extremely interesting to me was the 8th question you asked him on, do you drink coffee? And for some reason, he's more stressful on the statement about coffee than he is about the picture of the spacecraft.
Yeah, that makes sense, because about 3 days before we tested Meier, he promised his wife he'd stop drinking coffee, but we noticed he'd been sneaking a few occasionally.
Okay, that could probably be the account for it then.
Phelan reviews the tape several times. He can find no evidence of deception in the statements about Meier's experiences. In one demonstration, the beam ship flies around a tree, which can be seen to sway in the backwash. Once again, in slow motion. Even slower. Later, Semyasi brings a new beam ship to pose for Meier's cameras. A variation quite unlike anything he has seen before. She explains, as best he can understand it, the function of the spheres for propulsion of the craft in interstellar travel. The sound of the new beam ship shows marked differences to the sounds of the other variation craft. Meier tapes these as well. The tapes are taken to electronics consultant Niels Rognerud and sound engineer Steve Ambrose for examination.
We have two pieces of equipment. One measures the signal we're listening to in the time domain, the top one here. And the bottom one is measuring the frequency components of the signal.
Yeah, what does this mean when they're all together like that?
What you have is you have many tones happening at the same time. And right now, they're aligned. Now they're disaligning. They're out of alignment. They're very much out of alignment. Now they're starting to centralize on one. It's not as though maybe before you had 10 different frequencies at random, and then all of a sudden 9 dropped out and you only had 1 left. What's happening is the 10 different frequencies are converging on one central frequency, which is, I find, very interesting. This is probably one of the most interesting things about the tape, is that there are...
What's this right now?
Very, very many tones.
Yeah.
And they're all changing very fast.
For a moment there, we were looking in and we had 3 evenly spaced frequencies. See it there again?
Yeah, you got them again.
Yeah.
Niels, would it be possible to recreate this sound?
To be honest with you, I personally don't think so.
There are not synthesizers on the market that have oscillators that change that randomly. Even if you got 9 or 10 of them going, they wouldn't change from those peaks that quickly.
So a significant thing is this rate of change.
Well, and besides, if you were going to create a noise for a spaceship, you'd be hard put to come up with something as original as this. There's another alignment there.
Okay, Lee, what we can do here is...
Intrigued by the findings, Lee Elders takes the tape to Robin Shellman, who has studied the sounds of the earlier craft.
We're showing this throbbing, modulating beat that we hear on the tape. This beat, or modulation, occurs at these frequency peaks. Each one of these peaks is a discrete frequency. If you wanted to give a visual display, let's say we're talking a motor. Could be a motor, a shaft of a motor with 4 magnetic poles or coils around this shaft. The curious thing about this, it changes from 4 to 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a number that is difficult to discern. At a certain point, you're going to generate a certain amount of magnetism. And then later on, you want a stronger field. Well, you're going to select eight fields. All right, now you're going to hear 8 pulses on the tape. And then later on, you want a stronger field. You can select 16, 32.
Is there anything unusual about this?
I would think it's highly unusual. I don't really see any application for it, with the exception of, like I say, either generating a magnetic wave of some sort for laboratory purposes or maybe in this case, propulsion.
Without ever having seen a picture of the new beam ship, Shellman has drawn a representation of the spheres and offered an explanation of their function. The tapes hold still another surprise.
And also, another interesting point to note here is we have a steady, there seems to be a steady pattern all throughout all of this random signal. It seems to be a level change very steadily in around 5 to 10 cycles per second, which happens to be in the area of the natural magnetic resonance of Earth, also called the Schumann resonance.
Is that significant in any way?
It could be. It's just interesting to note the correlation there.
The peculiar correlation is something strange.
I mean, why would the correlation be there?
Yeah.
You can see it on the oscilloscope.
Meier says the beam ships can ride the magnetic field of the Earth. Rognerud's findings seem to bear this out. Going back to computer models of previous beam ships, simulation of the revolving lights reveals a kind of pulsing that matches the varying frequencies. Analyst Jim Delatoso is convinced that the sound and light frequencies are related. The phenomena might also explain the ability of the beam ships to suddenly disappear from sight and just as suddenly reappear. In this 8mm film, the beam ship at the top of the frame disappears and appears again almost simultaneously, just above the slope of the hill. When the film is examined, the beam ship disappears and appears in the same frame, which means that less than 1/18 of a second has elapsed.
Hey kids, again, that was episode 2 of the Billy Meier documentary. Next week we're going to show the end of it. Okay, so I promised you that I would show you that picture again and tell you about my encounter with an alien in my home. Another thing that I failed to mention, and I'll mention it in a minute, was that this, Tyrone, are we going to go to this camera so I can show it? Okay, so here we go. This is the bean that I saw standing next to my bed. Now, it was like hovering like this. So it wasn't standing still. It was like hovering, like it was just floating there. And it was right next to my bed, and I sleep on my right side. And so as I was asleep, I woke up, and then I couldn't move, but I could move my head. And so I moved my head over my left shoulder, and I thought that was really strange because my dogs were lying there next to me, and they didn't get up. They didn't, react to this or anything like that. Now, as I am communicating with this being, it's communicating to me through telepathy. And I said, how did you get in here? That was my first question. How did you get in here? And no answer. I got no answer. And so then I asked, what do you want? What do you want here? And no answer. And so then I said, Well, I'm going to go back to sleep, And so, and when I said that, it just disappeared. It just like vanished right there in front of me. Again, my dogs did not bark and go nuts, which they would have had somebody been in the house, or they would have heard somebody come in the house. I had a king-size bed at the time, and my dogs were, lying there next to me on my bed. What's up, king-size bed? But anyway, so I also had this huge Sony projection TV, but not the big square ones that y'all are thinking. This one, you pushed a button on the remote, and the screen would pop up, and then it had these big 3 huge tubes. And my sister Belinda wanted me to give her that TV, and I never did, because if I did, then I wouldn't have a TV. So anyway, the next morning when I went outside, to the backyard, and in the backyard was this huge circular imprint on the grass in the backyard. Now this was, my grass was it was more like weeds than grass. It was probably about, I'm going to say, probably about 8 inches high, maybe 9 inches high, something like that. But again, it wasn't crushed down. It was laid down and in a circular motion. And it was, and it wasn't burnt. Again, it was just like browned. And again, in the very far back of the property, there was also, I found 4 or 5 spots, but there were smaller circles where the grass had been laid over and it was browned. And that was I believe 2 or 3 days later. And so anyway, a couple of the things that I wanted to tell you guys. There have been instances, and I'm going to see if I can get it for you in the next show, instances where people have said that they've been abducted by aliens, and that everybody thinks they're nuts, da-da-da-da. Well, it turns out they did an x-ray of their body, or a scan of their body, and they found a little triangle in this one man's, inside his bone of his leg. And so they surgically removed it. They had it tested, and it turns out that there's no such mineral on this planet. So, and once they removed that little thing, he was never abducted again. So that's another thing. Next Tuesday is Independence Day, 4th of July, and we're going to be doing the 3rd and final episode of the Billy Meier documentary. Again, everything that he said has been proven to be true. So it's time to wake up to this. The other thing I wanted to show you was that the day after that we filmed, Tyrone, can you get a close-up of my arm here? Here we go. I'm going to try to do the other camera here. But if you'll see, the day after our last interview, I woke up in the morning, and I had like this an upside-down triangle here, like a V right there, a scar. And it was as if like road rash type thing. I ride a motorcycle. So anyway, that's our show. Please tune in next week. And I will have an announcement that our government is going to make. But I'm going to make it before they do. So that's it. Thank you for joining us. And I want to thank you, everybody that helped today. And we're just trying to educate you on what's coming. So, or rather, what's already been here, but what's also coming. So, please stay tuned, because it's gonna get better. Okay, it's gonna get better. And viva Mexico! And that's it.
I hope, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show. Can we all just get up on the Big Daddy G Show? Yeah, man. Why clean your room when you can do some shrooms? The Big Daddy G Show. I hope, what do you know? The Big Daddy G Show. The Big Daddy G Show.